I'd like to take this opportunity to share my knowledge with my fellow EPC members on equitable placemaking as it relates to its current draft with respect to crime prevention through environmental design, also known as CPTED. Within the Complete Communities 2.0 draft, there are several sections that refer to the use of CPTED. I found myself thinking back to the principles explained to us in the recent community engagement workshop led by Ms. J. Pitter. And some of my council colleagues, Councillor Rowlands and Gilroy, attended these workshops, as well as some representatives from our public administration and the Property Planning and Development Department. J. Pitter is a North American leader in equity-based placemaking. She emphasizes that urban design is not neutral. It either perpetuates or reduces social inequalities. Current CPTED principles are intended to create a safer, more welcoming, and more accessible public realm. But you need to ask yourself, for whom? The creation of CPTED agenda gave birth to hostile architecture, a detrimental form of urban exclusionism. The philosophies of CPTED and hostile architecture have led to the alarming erasure of free public space, rendered public spaces unusable to undesirable citizens, to erase images of poverty, social decay, and public disorder. The CPTED philosophy endangers the very nature of diversity in urban environments and brings into question whether public spaces are truly free and democratic. Through our education with Ms. Pitter, we learned that CPTED is the design philosophy that turns neighborhoods into mazes of defensible space that often unconsciously criminalizes and further marginalizes Black, Indigenous, and people of color under the guise of safety. Under CPTED standards, spaces for marginalized groups are designed with fewer amenities and fewer green spaces. I am very concerned about the continued emphasis of CPTED tactics used in our city building documents. It is an old school philosophy that alienates BIPOC people in the public realm, as opposed to designing spaces to build up and support healthy communities. If CPTED is based on the premises that the built environment affects behavior, what behaviors are we anticipating in our neighborhoods designed with CPTED? How do our own implicit biases, unconscious thoughts, and stereotypes influence how we design our neighborhoods? Think about it. What does eyes on the street mean to you? Is it the surveillance of people? Or is it the building up of community spaces to encourage the presence of people for safer spaces? In my ward, which is over 70% visible minorities, we see different design standards with the intention of crime prevention. The North End has a complete lack of public spaces in an effort to prevent crime. Under CPTED guidelines, we have created spaces that de-incentivize people on our streets. CPTED reduces shrubs and tree plantings in my ward because greenery is sacrificed for sightlines. CPTED also reduces benches to sit on to limit loitering. Point Douglas Ward regularly sees the removal of benches with intention to build a safer neighborhood. This is a prime example of elitism, which begs the question that we only have benches so that certain people can sit there. Individuals from underrepresented backgrounds deserve a better city that lifts them up and not further oppresses them. If we take a moment to view CPTED through our colonial lens, we can see that it fails to let certain communities congregate without fear of harassment. If we want to reduce crime, we have to look at the root causes. We should not be designing our city assuming the worst of people, denying them the opportunity for social inclusion, connections in a beautiful and livable neighborhood. I ask that we examine the specific CPTED recommendations in this draft to ensure that we are creating equitable guidelines to build healthy, thriving neighborhoods. In 2021, we cannot continue to build our city in a system derived from structural racism. When we know better, we can do better. To wrap up, we need a modern playbook for this city. While I do see some great goals and comments in this document, there are some areas where I believe we must raise our targets and goals to move us toward a more equitable, sustainable, diverse, and inclusive city. If we want to build a thriving Winnipeg for future generations to work, play, and live, this document has to be bolder to take us there. I've emailed the clerk my amending suggestions for your consideration, and I greatly appreciate your time.